All right, so it is, according to my computer, it is 6:03. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:03.
Okay.
I want to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Stay there. Stay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What you tell?
All right. Roll call. Mr. Bonner.
Here.
Miss Fox.
Here.
Mr. Snyder.
Here.
Mr. Dudowski is here. Miss Josephowski.
Here.
Mr. Blythe.
Here.
Miss Homa.
Here.
Mr. Mayor.
Here.
Our borough manager is present. Solicitor Mr. Regoli.
Here.
He is here. I know we had one other name on there that was just said iPhone. I don't know if that was either the chief or if that was Anthony Bruni.
They're on mute, so if they
there's
unmute, we can
Anthony
find
is
out.
here.
Oh, Anthony's here.
Anthony is here.
Can you see the screen? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Can I see the screen?
I'm sorry. Can
Yeah,
you?
we can see
can
the- we can
Everybody
see
see
the
the agenda. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, we see the agenda. All right. There were no exceptions to the open meeting laws. There were no executive sessions held between the last meeting. Could I have a motion to approve the May 5th, 2020 regular council meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
I believe that was Larry. Carrie and Luann.
Erica.
Oh, Erica, my bad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. Like we've done in the past, moving to the citizens comment section. Michael will unmute everybody. I believe there's at least a couple citizens here present. If you are wanting to speak to something that is on the agenda, like we've done in the past and even our in-person meetings, the first citizens comment section is open to anything that is on the agenda. We will then revisit that later on before we end the meeting about any other issue that you may want to talk about. So citizens comments, anything that is on the agenda. Michael, if you want to unmute anybody, I see it. There's a couple on here that could be citizen comments. Now is your opportunity.
I'm working to unmute all. It doesn't seem to be going.
I think Barbara she's unmuted, and it looks like Jeff Adams, he's unmuted. There's one that just says iPhone that still is muted. If they wish,
Okay.
you know. If you cannot unmute, I believe if you're on an iPhone, actually it's *6 is how you can unmute yourself if you're interested. There's also a chat feature on here.
I am clicking the unmute on everybody, and I did the
Okay.
unmute all. That iPhone is not coming unmuted, so I don't know if they just are re-clicking it or if it's even showing. But if that individual has comment on the agenda, we can always allow for that if they do unmute themselves.
Going once, going twice. And we have no citizen comment. Mr. Mayor.
I got a quick calls for service report. Calls for service 140. Traffic citations issued were 17. Non-traffic citations issued 5. Total citations 22. 13 arrests and 1 total accident. That's really all I have. I just want to give my opinion on the park real quick. I think that should have been opened already, and I think we need to open that. I don't think we should wait till Friday. By waiting, we're doing the same thing people were complaining about big government doing, and that's telling us what we can do, when we can do, where we can do it, and how we can do it. We need to let these citizens make that decision for themselves. I think we should open that thing up tomorrow. That's all I got.
All right. Thank you, sir. I don't have a whole lot under president's report. Continue to reach out to any of the council members, the mayor, the manager, the code officer. The borough is still up and running, even though we are hopefully finishing yellow here for good. Continue to reach out to us. A couple highlights that you'll see as you look down the agenda for anybody that is watching or participating. There's a motion on here that we'll talk about summer workers. There'll be a discussion and which may lead to a motion about purchasing power. And there's something on the agenda also about a potential hiring or advertising to hire in the water plant. So those are all some things that we'll be talking about. Just personally, since we've started, these virtual meetings, this is now our third one, hopefully our last. Just, on a personal note, a shout out to all of our public work guys. The borough looks fantastic. The weather's, it's finally got nice weather. The grass looks good. The mulch has been out. They've been doing a phenomenal job. A shout out to Michelle and Alice in the office. Again, it's been a totally different situation than anyone ever experienced. They've handled it with, professionalism, grace, etc. So just wanted to thank them publicly, as well as our police. I don't think there's anybody on here that would disagree with me that we have probably the best police department in the valley. They continue to make all of us proud. Our fire department, just as we're wrapping up this yellow phase, a public shout out to everybody involved in the borough, as well as my fellow council members. You all have gone above and beyond in what has been just an interesting time. And last but not least, Michael, personally to you, as the manager, again, this is all new to all of us. You stepped up from day one, got us involved with the Zoom meetings. I know you've worked with Dave, trying to get us. We've had 3 Zoom meetings. There were a couple of them, we talked about boroughs that missed the whole month because they couldn't get the technology out. So Michael, personally to you, thank you for being on the ball, getting it on the YouTube, sharing it. It's not an easy feat as somebody that does it all of the time. So thank you very much for all of the work you've done. And then the other big thing that I know we'll discuss at some point in time is like the mayor mentioned, we're going green on Friday. And I think, there's some discussion that needs to be had about what green looks like in Tarentum Borough, or what Tarentum Borough looks like when it's green. And again, that'll be up for, there will be discussion coming along that tonight. So just a couple things to look forward to. And other than that, I am ready to pass it along to Dave, if you have anything.
No report tonight.
All right. And I know, Mr. Mayor, you've already given the report from the chief for the call outs. I don't believe we have anything else to talk about with that, which brings us to Anthony, code officer.
The monthly report will be online, and I have nothing further at this time.
Awesome. I know the demos are still going good, so that's nice to see.
Yes, we have 13 down, 10 to go on this contract.
Good.
You said 13 down, 10 to go.
Right. They had to delay during the red phase as per the governor. They started back a few weeks ago, and now I think they started another one, and I'm hoping in the next week they get a couple more down.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. That brings us to the manager's report and Michael.
Okay, you can see the upcoming events as always. We'll see, defer to Carrie and her report about the rec board concert. I do know that I sat in on the rec board meeting at the beginning of last week. There was discussion about continuing to hold concerts and whether that would occur. So we'll hear more from her on an update from that group, but there may likely be hopefully a concert on the 25th of June. The zoning hearing board appeal date has been finalized, so you can take note that that is on June 29th. That is, I believe, a Monday at 7 p.m. That is the billboard matter that has been in the newspaper and discussed previously, that went down to the Allegheny County courts and now has been remanded back to the zoning hearing board. So that date has officially been set as of about 2 hours ago. Posted a notice on the website. Notice will be posted at the Borough Building. It will be posted in the newspaper. So anybody that wants to attend or observe that hearing can come to the Borough Building June 29th. The next night will be a rec board meeting, likely occurring in person at the Borough Building. We will post notice if anything changes on that. And then keep in mind the borough offices are closed on July 3rd. And the next council meeting is scheduled to take place July 7th. I don't have the time there, 6 p.m. And that will likely occur at Borough Council chambers, unless, of course, something requires us to have a Zoom meeting. Other than that, there are a couple updates on the website that are posted from the legislative standpoint. The engineer's report is posted. And we can move on to new business. I'll ask council for consideration for a motion to pay the borough bills for the month of May 2020.
So moved.
Second.
I'm not sure what you had there, Scott. Oh, Scott is on mute. I had Carrie on the first. Who was the second?
I believe it was
That was-
Brian.
Yeah, who's me? Sounded like Erica too, though.
That's okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 7-0. The next item is a motion. I'll ask council for consideration for a motion to add Brian Geracia, I believe that's correct, to the Tarentum Boat Dock lease list at what would be position number 16. Before I ask for council to make that motion, this individual contacted the borough, asked to be placed on the list. I'd explained to him what that essentially entails. Obviously, it's a long list and there's not much of a turnover, but he still wants it to be considered to be added to the list, and consistent with what our new policy is. We're running those items through the council meeting so that we can make a record. At this point, there are 15 prior individuals listed, so he would be number 16. So if anybody would like to make that motion.
I make a motion.
Second.
Carrie on the first, and Adam on the second. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 7-0. Sorry, Scott, you can, if you want to take that over. I didn't mean to kind of
No, I was on
take it out
mute.
from under you. The next item is a pretty straightforward item. This is a motion, or ask council for consideration for a motion to opt into the Allegheny County Economic Development CDBG program through the AVN COG. Essentially, you can either be an opt-in or an opt-out community. If you opt out, that essentially means you run your own CDBG program. You can get funding directly from the federal government, but you also have to administer that program with the same compliance and requirements that are that the federal government mandates. It's not easy to be an opt-out community unless you're prepared to do that, and a lot of filings, a lot of paperwork. So historically, we have been an opt-in community, and we go through the COG to apply for and receive grants through the CDBG program. The term is up, so it's time to renew. I would recommend that we opt in. So
I make
I'll ask-
that motion.
okay.
Second.
Carrie on the first, and I believe Adam on the second. Any questions or comments about this item or anything that I've said? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Item passes 7-0. The next item is something that was done last year. I'll ask council for consideration for a motion to approve the use of Tarentum Park for Denise Kissel, RN, to hold several health information sessions on July 7th, 14, 21, and 28 from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Gary on the first, Brian on the second. Any questions or comments on this item? Denise did this last year. I guess it was a pretty successful little event. And so look forward to it again this year. She's excited about hosting the informational session.
Yeah,
So,
if you know anybody that has diabetes, this was a phenomenal session. I recommend anybody to attend it, so pass the word around. She is fantastic. I went down and listened to a few of her sessions and passed the word around because she really is phenomenal.
okay.
We have, go ahead, you
I'm
keep
sorry, go ahead.
typing. No, I was
No,
gonna
you're
say,
good.
if you wanted to keep typing, we can get the vote in. All
Yeah,
in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
You do. Any opposed? Sorry, third session here. I think we'll get the hang of it. By the
We'll be
time
done.
We'll be back in person. Okay, this is the last motion that I believe I have. Now, this one, just so that everybody's aware, it came in by email today. And as I updated the agenda for everyone, I did not see the email. Then I went back in and saw this. It's a pretty straightforward item. This relates to the Upper Allegheny Joint Sanitary Authority compliance project that we have with the DEP. Essentially, we've talked about this a number of times in the past. There are a few recommendations and orders that we have to comply with regarding sanitation and sewage within the borough and also throughout the district that the authority encompasses. So this motion is to adopt the Act 537 facility plan for submission to the DEP. And the way the engineer explains this, it's a pretty straightforward item. I will pull it up here so that you can see the, so that you can see the resolution itself. Again, I want to do this because I didn't really get to show everybody earlier when I sent it out, when I sent the agenda out. So I'll do this pretty quickly, but essentially, this is a one-page resolution. I think it should be on your screen there, adopting a
is.
plan that essentially we're putting this implementation schedule together. The engineer, as you can see here, Gibson Thomas, prepared this plan. It meets all of the orders and the requirements of the larger water quality management plan that's in place. So are there any questions on this item that I could answer or assist with before I even read the motion? Okay, let me hop back to my agenda here. And I'll ask if there's consideration for a motion to adopt resolution number 20-07, resolution of the Borough of Tarentum, County of Allegheny, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, adopting the Tarentum Borough Act 537 facility plan for submission to the DEP.
So moved.
Second.
I believe that might be Carrie on the second, Adam on the first, and Carrie on the second. Is that correct?
Correct.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that item passes 7-0. The next item listed is not a motion, and the discussion is no longer necessary. I spoke with the Natrona Heights Baseball and Softball Association. They were toying around with the idea of asking for permission to use the stadium. And ultimately, it turns out that they're not going to ask to do that at this time. They're still pursuing discussions with the school about using their facilities. So I will remove this item from any sort of discussion or deliberation. And I'll ask if there are any questions or comments on that, but otherwise we can move to the next item.
Michael, just a quick comment on that. So
Sure.
whenever they reached out, I was happy to try to accommodate them, regardless of whether or not Highlands Little League was going to be utilizing the fields down there, which I know that's currently up in the air because my initial thought was the more people that we can bring to town, the better. They could work around each other's schedules. But in speaking with Mr. Dudowski, I don't know that that's something the council wants to get involved in until we have further clarification on what Highlands School District is going to do, what Highlands Little League is going to do, because not only do we have Highlands Little League and NHBSA, but then RIFO is also using those fields. So this is something I might ask council to revisit next month. But hopefully by then we'll have a better idea of what our school district is going to do and what maybe Little League is planning to do also.
Okay. Anything else on this item?
Not for me.
Okay. Okay, the last item that I have, obviously, is probably a bit more detailed, is some discussion on the opening of several borough facilities. The primary ones that come to mind are the spray park, the idea of holding park events such as rec board concerts and things like that, and then the borough building, which obviously is currently closed to the public for coming in and things like that. So I think the best thing to do, maybe I'll just give a very brief recommendation to council. I know I shot an email over to council about my thoughts. I can summarize those just for public purposes. We could start with the spray park and then come to some sort of decision. The reason I'm bringing these items to the attention of council is, unlike other aspects of the operation, these three items primarily interface the public directly. So I think it's fair for council to have obviously input and feedback and ultimately make a decision on these, which are probably a little bit distinguished from other borough operations, which are more internal and not outward facing to the public. So with the spray park, simply put, my recommendation to council, based on the current situation and events going into the green phase, I think the spray park should be open. It's not a pool where we have lifeguards or concessions or other facilities which we would need to sanitize or maintain. I think that the spray park can be open really without much issue. I don't really even know if we have a need to put up signage to encourage social distancing. If council felt the need to do that, we certainly could. It's a small investment to put up some signs, not a big deal. But really, I think most people know at this point that social distancing is recommended and required to keep everybody safe. Other than that, I don't see the need to wear face masks. Certainly we're not going to have kids wearing face masks in a spray park. There's only one item that they're really touching, the button to turn the water on. The water is not recycled, so there should not be an issue with the reuse of that or containing any virus or anything like that. So that's the long and short of it. That would be my recommendation. I don't know if anybody wants to weigh in on that or promotes that idea, and we can see where everything stands, I suppose.
I would agree with you.
Opening. Yeah.
Promote your idea.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Michael. I mean, I guess I could go either way with the signage, to be honest with you. I don't think it would hurt. I don't know if it's necessary. I don't know if we want to do it as just a due diligence. We put a sign up on both sides. I honestly could go either way. The sign's not going to make me social distance, but I don't know if we want to just put the reminder out there. I'm honestly okay with it either way. I guess the other thing is, do we want to wait till Friday or do we want to start, tomorrow and go? I guess that's really the kind of.
Let's open it tomorrow.
The other issue.
Yeah, why not? I mean, why wait till Friday? It's, nothing's going to change between now and Friday. I don't see why wait in a couple days. Just open it up. Let the kids do something. Let them have some fun.
I agree.
I think I'd agree with opening, but I would still recommend the signage if for no other reason that's in compliance with the recommended guidelines. The BRPS guidelines and others recommended at minimal cost. It reduces any culpability should something come up.
I talked to Mark about signage. He told me it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks to get signs made.
Wait, why can't we just go to Staples and get signs made?
You can make a paper sign and stick it in a page protector and hang it on the fence if that's what you want to do, but it's going to take 2 to 3 weeks to actually get a sign made.
You could get them laminated at Staples.
I'm not sure that we need like a professional print quality sign. I
Exactly.
mean, something just to, if we have to be in compliance as far as the sign's concerned, just get something we can put in a plastic sleeve.
Right,
You could
that's all you
probably
need.
make one at the Borough building.
Exactly,
I'd agree.
to put it up. You don't need to put up the signage. You can put that up.
Yeah,
I agree as well.
just a note on the gate. I think that's all.
Exactly, exactly.
Sorry, I was trying to look back to some of my other notes.
Sorry,
So
Michael.
no, that's okay. Was the recommendation just to put, I guess, a single sign? Is that what you said?
I mean, if we're gonna laminate them in the office ourselves, you print. I mean, if we're gonna do them ourselves and put them in a sleeve, you can print. You can print 4 sheets on cardstock, put it on all 4 sides, and call it a day if that's what we're
Right.
gonna do. And just so can't say that people weren't told. I mean, I think we heard a lot of people say, open it tomorrow. Is there anybody, I don't think I heard everyone's voice. Is there anybody that is against opening it up tomorrow?
I'm with Jim on this. I believe we should wait till Friday. I mean, what's another couple days? Abide by the rules and wait till Friday and put up the signs, laminate them, put them on the fence with zip ties, punch a couple holes in them, put them on the fence with zip ties, and hey, we've gone this far, why not abide by the rules?
Well, under the yellow, you're allowed to have spray parks open.
Let's say under that, you're allowed, technically, they're supposed to
You're
be
allowed.
monitored, but we can probably dance around that one.
It's truthfully, I just checked it, 70% chance of thunder showers tomorrow, so,
That's called a natural
Well,
spray park.
just open
This
them.
weekend's gonna be a cooker from what I hear.
Right.
So
Just
we
get them
gotta-
open. These kids
between
need
the-
some nice stuff.
yeah, between tomorrow and Friday, let's get her open.
Yep. All Mark has to do is open the gate and turn on the valves. It'll take him 2 minutes.
Okay.
I don't know. I have 6 kids, so I know that we're eager to get out and do some things, and there's nothing that can be done. This is our last week of school here in Highlands School District. And we're very limited. We've been limited for so long. I think that it's time to return a sense of normalcy to our families.
Yeah. I agree. And ultimately, it's
Please stop it.
some things are just better left up to the individual. If they're comfortable going, great. If they are uncomfortable going, don't go. So,
Agree.
I think the more we get to, going down the rabbit hole of telling people what they are and aren't allowed to do, it's just, it gets too sticky, I'd rather it be up to the individual.
Dave, I'll defer to you or even you, Michael. I mean, is this something do we make a motion to go to this, or do we just agree that, hey, we've got, I mean, I don't know how that works.
Well, if you're allowed to do it in the yellow phase, I mean, you're allowed to do it in the green phase.
Right.
So, I mean, I would just open it like you open it up every other year.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. I don't know if there's a need for a motion. We don't motion in other
Right.
years, but I did want to have that discussion. Obviously, it has to occur publicly, just on whether, there was support for that. Obviously, we're in unique times right now, so that's why I don't think there's a need for a motion. It sounds like a majority are saying, let's get the park open, so we can do that. We'll get some signs put up, whether, we laminate them ourselves or whatnot. We'll get some signs made, hang them on the fence area there, just to let people know. The only other question I have, and I think I know the answer, but we want to encourage social distancing. Is there anything else that we want to see on the signs, other than, please try to maintain social distancing.
I can't imagine what else we would put on them.
Michael, I think there's some stock ones out there. You can just download those PDFs and use them. I think PRPS even offered them.
I think so too.
Okay.
I put them up around my house for everyone to stay away from me.
Okay. Sounds like we're pretty straightforward there. The next item, we'll just move on. Park events, mostly probably related to concerts for the rec board. Those are pretty big events. Like I said, I was at the rec board meeting last week. I encouraged them to have concerts. I think they were also hoping to have concerts and wanted to continue to do that. I know the first concert of the year was slated for next week, next Thursday, and I think that band is not available because one of the members had passed. So it looks like, and I don't want to speak for Carrie, so she can certainly correct me, but I'll get the ball rolling here. I think their first concert would be on June 25th, a Thursday. So like I said, my advice to them was, let's go for it. We should have concerts. We should get back to the normalcy. People like the events. We can, again, same thing. We can encourage people to social distance. If we need to, we can kind of cordon off or, put some tape on, maybe every other bench there and let folks, either sit in alternating benches or bring their own chairs. I would leave it up to the rec board if they want to do concessions or raffles. Originally, 1 week ago, I was thinking, and I told them, maybe not the best idea. And if you could limit that or eliminate it, maybe go ahead and do that just to, prevent the handing off of, food or cooking or this or that. But again, things change so quickly. A week later, here I am, and I'm thinking you could probably open the concessions and raffles, and if folks want to buy something or buy a raffle ticket, they can certainly go over and do it. And if they're not comfortable, they certainly don't have to. I don't want to put the rec board staff of volunteers at risk, so they can make that decision if they are or not comfortable. I think that should be their call. But I would like to see concerts. I think it's a great thing for the borough, and I think it, is a positive thing. So that's my recommendation on that. I probably want to turn it over to Carrie first to add in anything else or correct me, and then if council wants to consider their thoughts, on having concerts and things like that. So Carrie, I don't know if you want to go ahead and offer in your feedback.
Well, the first concert is slated for June 11th. It was supposed to be the Wanna Beatles, but as you all know, we lost Pat Seeger. So, but Dick Gaynor and the other band members were planning on doing a tribute to Pat Seeger that evening. But that's kind of still up in the air. So I have to find out if they still plan on doing that, if they're comfortable doing that. I'm not sure. I have to find out. I did speak to them a few times, but it was still up in the air. Through all of this, I have spoke to the Board of Health several times. They referred me to the State Board of Health, the Department of Health, and also the State Board of Health, Department of Health has referred me to the DCED. I spoke to them again today, being that we're moving into the green phase. And they both really told me about the same thing. That we are permitted up to 250 people with social distancing, with proper sanitation, trying to keep people 6 feet apart, all of those kind of things that we all know about, we've been hearing about for months. But my main concern was the snack shack. So where we stand with that, I asked them about the food. Is there any stipulations on serving food? All of those kind of things. Well, lo and behold, there was a lot of research done to be said that we would have to be treated as a restaurant. There The concession stand would have to have plexiglass put up so that we would be protected, just like the borough offices. We would need to serve all of our like ketchup, relish, mustard, those kind of things in the condiment packs. Of course, paper products, which we already have, they all get thrown away. We'd have to have sanitizer for hands. We'd have to wear masks. We'd have to wear gloves. The bathrooms would have to be sanitized, all of those sorts of things. Which brings me back to, I don't still know what to do about the concession stand or the snack shack, because it gets so hot in there that I don't know about standing in there with gloves and mask on. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. I'm like, I am just beside myself with all this. I really don't know what to say. I can't have people on the recreation board sitting outside. I don't want to age discriminate, but I do have elderly rec board members. I can't have them sitting outside and being with people and exchanging money. I'm really in a bind here.
I can say that, not to interrupt, but I think it may help to chime in. I mentioned to the rec board at the meeting last week, when I had said, maybe don't do the concessions. If they are, they have the funds to hold the concerts without, raising money back. So at that time, and maybe now it holds true with all these requirements, look, just hold the concert. Don't worry about, having the food or the raffles. If you don't have to do it, they don't have to do it to raise revenue to host the events. We have that in the budget. So knowing that, and if you're torn because, you're concerned about it, I would recommend, back to what I'd said last week, don't worry about that. Just, don't do the concessions or the raffles this year. Just have the event, bring the band in, let everybody spread out and enjoy themselves. Then maybe in some ways that's a relief for you guys. You don't have to kind of stress about it or, make sure that you're keeping up with certain requirements, because those are hard to do. And you are right about the snack shack. And I wouldn't want to be working in there with the mask and the gloves as well. It's, you said it, it's already hot and a tight confined space to begin with. So if that helps at all, I don't know, but my recommendation at that point, because like I said, I was saying that you could do the concessions because I thought maybe that's something you wanted to do or hope to do. But if it's going to be too much of a burden, again, I would just fall back on, don't worry about it. Have the event if that works. Keep everybody safe. Don't worry about, all these requirements, and everybody can enjoy their evening.
Carrie,
So that would be my thoughts.
Carrie, is there a way to do, again, I've never been in the snack shack, so I can't speak to it, but is there a way to maybe you do drinks and I don't know, bags of chips or something like that? So it's not anything that's not anything prepared.
That was one of our thoughts, was just to maybe do small things like that, instead of doing a full hardcore menu like we do.
Right. Even like with
it
football,
just breaks my heart because people look so forward to that. They look forward to coming there and getting a hot sandwich and French fries and all those good things to eat. But if this year we just can't do that, I don't want to have people passing out in the concession stand from wearing a mask and gloves and, all of those things. So,
and that's the thing, Carrie, people do look so forward to that. I know that, we're a small community. We're not Pittsburgh, we don't have a whole lot going on. And the rec board is trying, and special events is trying, we're all trying here, but we're in a very unique time. And people are really needing to get out of the house. And I know the concerts are really something that's looked forward to by so many. I think it's so important that you guys do whatever you need to do to keep that going, and whatever we can do to help, we'll help.
Yeah, I mean, the concerts are scheduled. They're scheduled. They're on. That's not a problem. So
I'm thinking like just from what we do with football, because we we feed our football players and the opposing team football players for free after their games. So what we do is we do everything in roasters. So we roast the hot dogs and put them in a bun and pre-wrap them before the game, while the game is going on. So when the kids come up, they're kind of, there's no there's no interaction with the concession stand. So it's like, hey, here's your free hot dog, here's your free drink, here's your free bag of chips. You could almost, could you do something where, I don't know, like this first time, if there's something that's happening next week, which would be awesome, because again, like Erica said, it gets people out. But do you have, you have a cooler, you have your couple coolers with your drinks. Maybe you buy some of the, like, the bags of chips that are the Doritos and the popcorn and like the chips. And maybe you just do, I don't know, hot dogs, or maybe you just do, I don't know, hot dogs at kibasi or something like that, where you don't have to be in the, like, I'm thinking like when the fall festival, that the tables are set out. Again, it's still going to be hot because you're still going to have a mask on, but you're not going to be in that building that it is set up, because you're right. People rely on that to not only go and have a good time, but they rely on that to get, a nice meal, and get something, get something to eat, get something to drink. But I think, again, I don't want to speak for the rec board, but if that's possible and you put it out there to people like, hey, you know what, at this point in time, we can't do the full snack shack, but hey, you know what, we can do snacks and drinks, and maybe one concert will be hot dogs. Maybe the next concert it's, I don't know, hot sausage, or maybe the third concert it's, something totally different. I don't know. I'm just like brainstorming, trying to think of things.
Or
Terry,
maybe you could even have one of our
considering-
local food trucks come down,
I was just gonna say, why don't we see if Cody's Cabana wants to be the official food truck for the concert series this summer? They're already in compliance with the health department.
One other option is just do a box lunch type of thing.
Mhm.
There's got to be a local vendor. You could pre-buy 100 of them. All you're doing is handing them out. They've already got all the utensils, condiments, everything else inside. And, you've released, you don't have any of the issues to deal with on prepping and cleaning or anything. We do that for an event that we hold up at our location up in Butler. We do a, what we call picnic in the park, and people bring their own food. We bill it that way, but we also have a certain number of just boxed meals. And all we're doing is just basically handing them out, and it eliminates all the cleanup and prep and everything else.
So let me say this just to kind of keep things on track. Are there any council members that take issue with the rec board holding their concerts? I think that's really the primary decision. And certainly, I'm sure they appreciate the different thoughts and ideas about
Yes,
how to administer.
And
the,
you're right, Michael, because we can always decide what we want to do with the snack shack at our own pace, because really, the more I'm thinking about it, even if we just didn't do French fries, that's really what heats up that concession stand. So, and then we can decide what we want to do. So, if, the concert issue is, if you think it's okay to do concerts, we could roll with it.
I don't think we heard anybody say no to concerts. Did we?
Yeah, I mean,
No,
No,
what
I
I'm saying
definitely think
is
we
if-
should have them.
Right. No, I meant like just moving on, like Michael said. I think we're good to do concerts. I think, get them started as soon as possible.
Yeah, and when I talked to the DCED, they were okay with the concert thing too. They were, they were like, oh, that's fine,
We might be one of the few communities that has anything going on.
Okay, well, so I mean, it doesn't sound like there's an objection. I think the rec board, they know their the way to hold their events. They know it inside and out. So we can let them kind of think the issues through with the snack shack and what they want to do. But it doesn't sound like there's any objection to the idea of holding concerts. So I would say if there is, maybe speak up now. Otherwise, between myself and the board, the plan was to try to move forward with concerts. So I think we could do that. Is there any concern or issue with that from anyone?
Nope.
Okay. And then the last item, hopefully not too complex, I think I can maybe streamline it, was about the borough building and individuals being able to come in and make payments or pick up, building permit, things like that. I did send a recommendation to council for public purposes, so that we're on the same page here. My recommendation at that time was to try to limit the hours to maybe a short amount of hours in the morning and then a short amount of hours in the afternoon, keeping in mind employee safety and sanitizing and other things. I did get a feedback from Luann. I won't speak for her, but I think it's relevant. Obviously, Luann worked in the office for a long time. She knows it very well. So I, definitely would like to give a lot of credence to what she has recommended. She may have sent the email also to council, but she essentially said, we need to examine, when we open the building, but then at that time, probably not doing the split hours or the limited hours that I had recommended, but rather moving into a 5 or 6 hour window for folks to be able to come in, and that would be every day of the week. So, and I have no issue with that. My recommendation was purely based on trying to be cautious. We do have 2 employees to consider, and not only getting back and reacquainted, but also just kind of, making sure that we don't put them at risk. I did speak with them. In fact, they didn't like my recommendation as well because they thought it might be a little bit too much of a hassle to have to whether it be lock the door, unlock the door, things like that. So they did like the idea of proceeding slowly so that they could kind of adapt, whether that means, sanitizing and masks, gloves, things like that, just kind of getting used to it. So I guess the first question is, do we want to kind of jump back in and open the building up right away? Or do we want to maybe go a little bit slower and kind of keep things the way they are now? Obviously, the public has been doing it for 3 months, so they've kind of adapted. Does anyone have any other thoughts or feedback on, what they want to see or what they're hearing from the community about people coming in to pay bills?
Michael,
Well,
I liked your idea. I don't know.
Yeah, I agreed. I liked your idea too.
The problem is if you have the office open for an hour in the morning and then an hour after lunch, you're actually going to cause a lot more confusion because people are going to come down there at 2 minutes after 9 and they're not going to be happy campers, or you're going to have 20 people all kind of come between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning. I would say that you would be further ahead to keep it closed until I've talked to other places and they're not opening up yet either. One of the things is I do agree to move that plexiglass up and plug that hole in with something so they can't talk through it. And then, like, one of the things I had said was, you don't have to open the office at 8 o'clock in the morning. You can open a little bit later, let us stay open for a few hours and then close it like an hour or so before. And you're not going to be getting 20 people all trying to come in at 8 o'clock in the morning. And they'll still have their time to work. But I'm telling you, I've been down there when you've tried to shut the door and they're not going to be happy campers because they can't get in.
I would take your lead on that, Luann, because you have been there more than the rest of us.
My initial thought was like 10 to 1, 10 to 2, something like that, to give it, just that 3 hour window, 4 hour window for,
well, that's what I was thinking later, like 9 to 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
That gives them from 7:30 to 9 to get a lot of stuff done. And then from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock to sanitize and finish up some of the work that they have to do. Some people are already asking if we're going to open because we turned to green on Friday.
Yeah,
I just don't think an hour is enough to keep people happy because I'm telling you, there'll be people, they're all going to come, the people that want to come are all going to come at the same time. And you're going to have a lot of people lined up trying to get in at 8 o'clock or 9, whatever time it was for that hour.
Yeah, that's a good point. And being open for a few hours at a time would really help with not having 10, 15, 20 people trying to get in at the same time.
If you've ever been there on the 15th of the month, they're lined up out the door sometimes. And even though they've been making their payments like they have been making them, which is awesome, once it would open up for that hour, they're gonna be lined up out the door to come in and pay their cash and get their receipts and do what they want to do. So it's just, I think it's just too many people trying to get in at one time.
We seemed to talk a lot earlier about normalcy, and it would, I don't know, it's, for me, I think it would be great to have the office open up as much as it could. You know, we're a public entity serving the public, and the more we can get back to normal, the better that is. Again, I don't know if a 9 to 3 or whatever time fits most of the public or businesses needs, but I think showing that we're open for business is probably a good message to send out there, that things are getting back to normal. So again, I'd recommend it. You know, my perspective on that vestibule is that it's already fairly well protected, probably more than most other places were out there. It already had some plexiglass on it. Certainly, we can make some, you know, alterations. But it already probably exceeds most of the safety protocols that are recommended out there. So it should be fairly easy. We're still recommending people wearing masks in the building. I would think staff would be secure or safe. And it, again, it's a relatively small space to clean, and it's not as if you have to clean it 8 or 6 or 10 times a day, you know, twice a day.
Every couple hours.
In that type of space.
You're right.
Normally I would agree with you, Jim, because you sound so right. And like I said, I would have agreed with that position a year ago or 2 years ago. But the more seminars and conferences I attend, I know that other municipalities are really trying to get away from the in-person transactions, the paying of the utility bills, paying of the taxes and any kind of borough business. They're really trying to move away from that for various reasons. Number one is safety. So that might be something that we want to look at a little bit more before we make a decision. And I don't personally really have an opinion about that. I'm just sharing that with you because I've learned that from going to these conferences and seminars.
I'd agree. And I think
get away from that.
No, it definitely becomes more efficient from a work perspective. I think I want to separate the discussion about what's an efficient workplace from what's a safe workspace, because I think they're two different things. And I think if we were to incentivize paying remotely, paying online, paying without being in person, as opposed to decentivizing it right now, because right now you pay a lot more to pay remotely than you do in person.
That's right.
If we reverse that, we could encourage people. So it's more the carrot approach to doing it. But yeah, the more that people do that automatically, the better. I agree completely.
Jim, I agree with that statement 100%, but I agree with you also that it really is two separate issues. Here with this one here, you know, we're opening the spray park to get back to normal. You know, our residents, we have an older population that still like to walk down and pay their bill, and that's the way they've been doing it, and that's the way, you know, that's their preference. I think looking at how we do business in the future is one issue, but I think, you know, starting on Monday, we do those, you know, short hours, 9 to 2 or 10 to 2 or whatever it is. Put this, you know, again, we're making a sign for the spray park that we can make the sign for the door that says, you know, one person in at a time. If we need to put, I don't know if we need to put tape on the sidewalk or tape inside the little vestibule area there, but you know, I think people are going to be eager as we are to get back to normal. Their normalcy is walking out of the borough building and paying their bill. And
if I wasn't clear, I guess my position is that I want to get back to normal, but I think we do it in baby steps, whatever that means.
I agree with you all, but I think once we get our new software and we can get people to pay online, make it easier and more cost effective and more efficient for our borough, you'll see less and less traffic in the borough. But right now we have to remember that we are serving the people of this the public in this borough, our constituents. And if they want to come into the borough building, then that's their right. And so I believe that they should be able to come into the borough and pay their bills. So I think that I agree with Lou Ann and I agree with Jim. And I think that that should be open more hours. And I think that I agree with Lou Ann, it should be open those hours.
it's not even just the people that want to pay their bills. Some people want to actually see face to face when they have a question. It's hard for them to understand when you're talking to them on the phone.
I agree.
They like to be in person. Some of those people are starting to fade away more because the younger people don't care. They're not that they don't care. They just want to pay online, do whatever it is and get going. But a lot of people have a lot of questions and they don't like to talk on the phone. They want to come and actually see you face to face. So, I mean, I'm not saying we need to be open the entire time. We do need to plug those holes up on the plexiglass where people talk directly into. I don't know, just tape over them or get those little screen things or something. But we do need to try to start being a little more normal. And you're not going to get people rushing down right away because some people still aren't comfortable with just going out. But there are people that are asking when it's going to open because we're going to go green on Friday. So just where I'm coming from. So
I agree.
Do we have a consensus to open starting Monday, June, what is that, 8th? I don't know, 9 to 1, 10 to 2. I mean, are we all okay
start
with
at 10
something
to
like
2.
that?
Start at 10 to 2. I mean, that's a few hours. That gives them time in the morning to do what they need to do. Meet some people, then afterwards they can do what they have to do, clean up, disinfect and stuff like that, and you finish up their work and then go home at 4.
10 to 2 sounds good.
Then eventually, I mean, if we can make it longer, or actually if it works out great, 10 to 2, go for it for a while.
I know that's not perfect for everyone's schedule, but it's better than what we're offering now. So I think
Right.
that's a good
Well,
start.
and the majority of people
Start.
are still working at home, or at least I think so. Maybe not. I shouldn't speak for everybody, but I think, I like the 10 to 2.
To start.
Mhm.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah,
Now we can.
Michael, we can hear you.
I don't think he can hear us.
I don't think
We could hear you, Michael.
Hold on.
Sign
I
language.
apologize. I'm in my 3rd floor. I'm currently hiding from my children.
Okay.
So I can have
Anyone
peace and
there?
quiet.
We're
Yeah.
here.
We can hear you.
Okay. I didn't kill any kids. I'm back.
Okay. Again, your poor kids.
I just heard everything, like Mickey Mouse song started and then it went haywire and I couldn't hear a thing that was said. So
we talked about opening on Monday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. With the sign on the door, making sure we've got one person in at a time. The girls, cleaning, as best they can, at least sanitizing the counter and whatnot. Luann talked about plugging any of the holes in the plexiglass that we needed to plug just to kind of be on the same page. But I think we're all in agreement to do 10 to 2 starting on Monday, the 8th.
okay. That works for me.
Yeah.
I think
If
the
it's
only
fe-
other-
If it's feasible. If
Right.
it's feasible and you can't do it till Tuesday or something, but yeah.
No, that should be easy to do. So no problem. That's perfect. I'll catch up on the minutes. I'll review the thing, but
Yeah, the only other thing, Michael, I think we need to talk about going green, and then I think we'll be done with this portion of it, is while we're talking about it, just making a decision. Maybe we can make it now for that July meeting. Are we comfortable opening the borough chambers back up on July 7th? And having no more of this Zoom meeting and having a face-to-face meeting. Maybe it's too early to make that decision, but I know that's all what we want to do.
if I can just add in, I mean, there are plans to have the zoning hearing board meeting in person in late June. So, and that, the solicitor weighed that out, several different attorneys and parties involved. It's a public hearing. It meets, all the criteria from guideline standpoint. So that's why the meeting can take place in person. So I don't see any reason why we couldn't have the July 7th meeting in person. That'll be up to council to, kind of weigh out. The zoning hearing board is a board of 5. There will be quite a few folks in the room. We'll try to social distance as best as possible. So I would envision the same thing with our council meeting. But at the end of the day, the other options are, if you feel that we must comply with social distancing parameters of 6 feet, then we may want to consider a different venue, at least going forward. Because I do think that there are going to be some issues with, maintaining, a specific 6-foot distance between anybody that is there. So that's my only thoughts, but there is going to be a public meeting taking place in that same room, 2 weeks before this. So.
I mean, I'm comfortable with in-person meetings as right now. I mean, barring anything really tragic from reemerging, I'm comfortable with it right now. As far as social distancing, could we use the zoning hearing meeting as like a acid test to see how we'll go about doing our meeting like a week later, as far as how many people are in the room and how much space is between the people? And does that make sense?
Yeah.
I've been at zoning hearing meetings where there are more attendees than there are at council meetings.
Yeah, and I
Very
kind of
true.
was thinking that, so, instead of just saying right now, yeah, maybe we should start thinking of a bigger venue. I mean, we could see what the zoning hearing meeting looks like and then decide from that.
And part of that is going to be, that's going to be people's personal preference. If they feel comfortable going to the zoning board, if they feel comfortable going to the meeting, knowing that, hey, this could be a packed meeting, and
Well,
it is.
that's true,
It
and
is
that's
what
what
it
it
is.
comes down to. I think with everything, it's up to the individual with what they're comfortable with.
Do we have a default backup location if we ever needed it for a big meeting? Is there
Not
any
that I
place
know.
we've ever identified?
Luann, you brought up a good idea.
Yeah, I said the pavilion at the park, we could spread out pretty well over there. I mean,
Covered.
Particularly in summer.
why not? I mean, we could spread ourselves around over there and have a meeting,
It's actually a great idea.
as long as it's not thunderstorming.
Well, I think, just to kind of keep this on track, it sounds like we use the ZHB meeting as a little bit of a barometer for our meeting. We can see how it goes, if we run into issues or not. And then if everything seems okay, we'll do it in the council chambers. If not, we'll know right then and there that we need to adjust, and we can either look for a new location or whether it be a digital meeting. So how about that? If that sounds like a plan, we'll do the zoning meeting and then kind of put our heads together after that.
That works for
Yeah,
me.
I mean, there's
Plan.
plenty of venues that we could come up with, I'm sure, if we needed to. There's
Okay.
I'm sure churches would let us hold a meeting there, the Clement, place like that. I'm sure it wouldn't be a problem to find an alternative venue, but just see how the zoning board meeting goes.
Carrie, your house is available, right?
Sure.
We could all sit around the fire ring.
There you go.
There you go.
All right.
A lot
I think
of issues get solved around a fire ring, I'll tell you.
this is true.
Right.
All right. I think we are ready to move on. I know that was a lengthy discussion, but I think it was needed and helpful. So
Definitely.
thank you. Mike, are you good?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Public Works, Miss Homa.
Okay, the monthly report is online, and I would like to make a motion to ratify the hire of Terry Shambon, Nick Hilliard, and Zachary Kuniak as temporary summer public works employees with a prior start date of May 26, 2020 at a rate of $12 per hour.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I believe that passes 7-0.
You should also make sure that you give the opportunity for question or comment from
Oh
council.
yeah, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'd just like to make one comment.
Mhm.
See that,
When
Scott?
we discussed this at our last meeting, we discussed that we wanted these to be, I know we can't discriminate against age. We had discussed that we wanted to keep these as students or college age students. So in the future, I'd like us to try and come up with some way that we could keep these as students or college age students in some way. I don't know how we could come about that, but I just like to give the opportunity to younger age students or college students or something, that to give them an opportunity to work like it's always been in years past.
That's a fair point.
But I
I think
don't
that we
know
can-
how we go about that or how we do that, or I know this year it seemed like it just came about and it was done very quickly. But I like I said, I don't have anything against any one of these individuals. I mean, I know one of them. I think I know two of them. But I honestly, I don't have nothing against any of them. It's just that I would like to see it be like it's been in the years past.
I agree with you, Carrie. I would like to see a younger generation in there doing it. I don't know that we can find future councils by making a resolution or anything. I don't know if Michael or Scott, you have anything. I don't know. I'm all for that if we
I don't
can.
know how it was done in the years past.
Well, I think we
actually, it
could
was always
probably
done that.
just make a merge. Go ahead, Luann.
I would say it was always done that they were to be going in high school and be in college. But when I suggested that last month that we do that, I was told it was discrimination. We couldn't do that. So
Yeah, I
that's
don't know
why
if-
that's why I just let that drop.
Well, I don't know, maybe Mr. Rivoli can chime in on it, but if we made it so that it was a summer jobs program for students and made a motion to adopt that policy, then I don't know that discrimination would really play a part in it.
Luann, maybe it was done that way because it was paid for by a grant program. Am I correct?
No, it's always been, it was just a thing. I mean, they've done that for as long as they did it even before I started working, because my son worked there before and when they advertised it, they wanted it advertised as high school kids that were going to go to college or college kids for their summer work. One of the reasons was because then the kids knew the job was going to be done and they would be going and you wouldn't have people wanting to hang around. But I don't know if you can just say it's a summer school program. I have no idea. We'll have to discuss that over the winter.
Okay, that's all I have. I just thought I'd make mention of that because I just always thought it was it's a learning process for students or young adults, I don't know how to word it. I just find that it is a fascinating program for kids. It was a great experience for my son. It taught him a lot. And I'm a big supporter of the program.
I think, Dave, I don't know if you want to add in here, he's on mute, but I think maybe if it is created as like an internship, that may be the workaround. But I know what you're saying as far as in the past, both Luann and Carrie, I hear you. I understand your reasoning behind it. I don't disagree with that. Two items though. First, just so that everybody's aware, we didn't have any students apply. When we put the ad out and got feedback 3 weeks later, there weren't any that we can say for sure we were aware of their age. Again, we don't ask for the age on our employment or application, so we don't know that, but it seemed as if there were no high school or college age students. And then secondly, I don't think the borough was simply doing it correctly in the past, but if we make it an internship, that may be possible. So I think the solicitor could weigh in the legal aspect of that.
You can set the guidelines however you want them. I mean, at the Water Authority in New Kensington, they approve every year the hiring of, high school senior going to college or college students. And that's what they've done for years. And that's who they hire. You know, I don't think there's much magic to it. That's just, you know, they're non-union employees, and that's who they hire. I don't see why you couldn't do it any different. If you say this is a job that we would like to give to kids earning money to go to college, there's no reason why you can't do that.
So again, as I go back to some of the CLEs and other things, obviously you're familiar, Dave, you know, they tell you don't ask for age on your applications. Don't inquire about someone's age. It could be a, you know, federal violation. So, I mean, how do you go and hire a student when you can't ask for the age? And again, maybe now is not the time to look at that. Maybe we need to research that. But I think that, you know, what we need to do is kind of carve out the position we're looking for and then try to find a way to make that happen. But again, even if that were the case this year, I just want everybody to be aware, if we had the parameters in place and they were completely appropriate and we could hire college age students, we didn't have any to pick from. So we would have been in the same boat again with you know, the employees that we're looking at now.
We didn't have enough,
Maybe
we
we
didn't
could
have enough
partner with the
time.
high school next year and see if they have any graduates, like a job fair. I don't know if that would be what you'd call it, but maybe we could partner with the high school and just say, look, we're going to have 4 positions open. You know, we'd like to meet with some kids who would fit that job description and see where that goes. That way, I guess you can guarantee that you're getting students without asking how old they are, without asking about their age.
We're not the only municipality that does this. I mean, Harrison Township does it, you know, I mean, there's a lot of municipalities that do the same thing. So I know that there has to be a way of doing it. And we used to get a lot of students, but they used to advertise way earlier than
We used to advertise like at spring break time.
Yes.
Not,
So
we
that
have
may
really,
be a ticket too.
right.
Let's
Our
not
time
wait so
constraints, our time constraints were bad this time. We had to do it how we had to do it. We need to advertise much earlier and go from there. But like I said before, we got a lot of months to discuss this now. So, you know, so
I agree.
something to work on later.
I remember when I was in high school, they would hang up, Harrison Township that is, would hang up signs about hiring high school students, $15 an hour, I think it was. And it said something about, I don't want to say lawn care or maintenance, but it was something to that effect. I mean, it was very straightforward. It's exactly what they were looking for in a very brief sign that they would post on their telephone poles. And I don't know. I never went out for it, obviously, but.
That's something that we can definitely do in the future.
Right.
That's a good point, though.
Could even send it out with the water bill.
Hey, thanks.
Mr. Bonner, utilities.
Yes, sir. Just a few items here. First of all, monthly report is available through the link. And the highlight of that is 28.16 million gallons of water processed this month. That always shocks me when I see that. We do have a
taking shorter showers.
Yes.
There are many people at
I'm
home.
probably responsible for a third of that. We do have a motion I'd like to make on ratifying the execution of a master power purchase and sell agreement between Tarentum Borough and PSEG Resources and Trade. This is the electrical supplier that we use for power to the borough, and that we have a rate of $30.35 for megawatt hour. I think Michael shared in an email the 2 proposals that we got and some of the rationale for choosing this one. It is a great reduction over what we were paying currently and over the last contract, which I believe was about $38 for megawatt hour. So it'll be good. This is our current supplier. We do have a security deposit with them that we will not have to change or come up with anything else. And as background, that deposit does earn interest, so it is sitting there somewhat as a reserve account. So I would ask for a motion for us to move ahead with a new 4-year service agreement with PSEG.
Second.
Jim, you did a fantastic job explaining all of that. Is there any other discussion or questions that either Jim can answer or Michael can answer before we vote? All right. We have a first, we have a second. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? All right.
Great. The other item we have is that we have a position that we had agreed to post and hire for in the water treatment plant. I think that was back in January or February. And Michael can correct me on my numbers here, but I believe there was a total of 12 responses back then, of which 3 were considered viable, of which only 1 was actually interviewed. The other 2 did not go through with the interviews. That was a few months ago, and although that single person looked to be a good consideration, things have changed and amount of time has passed, and given the economic conditions, I think it would be prudent of us to re-advertise that position again. I mean, I'm always in favor of seeing more than 1 person for any position, but also, you know, reality is there may be more people on the market right now. And since we're not in a real crunch to fill this position immediately, it seems like we should take the time to just widen the search a little.
I agree with you, Jim.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Just let me make sure that I understand. This is a motion to re-advertise, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Second.
Any other discussion before we vote? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
No,
Did I hear a no?
yes, you did.
Who, is that Luann?
Yep.
So I have a 6-1. Motion passes 6 yay, 1 no.
Michael, do you know when this interview was?
Yes. The interview took place roughly a week and a half ago. And just to kind of tie on to what Jim said so that everybody's aware, sorry, I'm getting my documents straight. There were, we did receive roughly 16 resumes or applications, depending on some submitted applications, some just a resume. 16 individuals put in for the position, of which Jeff and I went through and collectively decided that there were 3 that looked like they could potentially be a good fit for the position. So we wanted to interview those 3. Then, of course, after that, we reached out to those 3 individuals. They were all interested in interviewing. And then the shutdown hit with the virus. So at that point, we put everything on hold. When we picked things back up, I'll say roughly 3 or 4 weeks ago, reached back out to those 3 and asked if there was, continued interest in interviewing so that we could start to move that forward. At that point, 2 of the individuals indicated that I think one indicated he had found a new position, and the other one found a position in a similar field somewhere else. So two basically moved on. So there was only 1 individual left of those 3. Jeff still conducted the interview, like I said, around a week and a half ago. By all accounts, just so everybody's aware, I think I put this in the email, but the interview went well. The individual, it does seem like they would be a good fit. But in the interest of due diligence, as Jim mentioned, I don't think it hurts from a financial standpoint or a staffing standpoint to explore and find out whether there is any renewed interest from the general public. So we can put it back out now with this motion passing, and then find out, who may be interested. The individual that we interviewed will, of course, remain in consideration. They, like I said, they do seem like a good fit, but in the interest of making sure that we're, doing service to the community and to the operation, it does not hurt to try to see if there are other qualified applicants and try to find, the best one for that position. So Jeff's recommendation was to hire this individual. But ultimately, we want to make sure that, we're doing everything that we can. So that kind of just ties into what Jim said. I hope I didn't overstep on anything there, Jim.
Nope.
Any other questions on this item?
This was emailed to us about the water position?
I
I'm not
saw
sure.
something in my email about the water position and the summer help position.
I'm not sure what you were asking.
What's
if
your
you were
actual
asking me.
question, yeah? What do you mean, Carrie?
I'll look back. I don't remember that.
I don't think it was as much detail, but it was, there was a reference there.
Okay, I'll look back.
What was the question? I can probably try to answer it.
If that was emailed to us about the water position.
You mean Jeff's
Yeah, it was, yeah.
recommendation?
No, the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah, we voted for this several, way before the shutdown to advertise the position. The
Oh, yeah,
advertisement.
I know that. But I didn't, it's fine. I'll look back. It's all good.
I think I can answer your question. It was not that detailed, Carrie, but yeah, he said Jeff made a recommendation, but about all the applications and resumes, no, that wasn't detailed in the email.
Yeah, I just don't like things like this to happen in a meeting because I feel like it discourages the candidate that applied and discourages our supervisor, and I just don't like that.
Sure, but I feel like we need to have a better idea of who we're about to vote on to hire because, I mean, last time, as we know, when we tried to hire somebody or when we did hire somebody for the water department, there was kind of it was messy. There's no other way to put it. And I think that we need to have a better idea of who we're about to hire because we're hiring this person to be a part of our community. And I'd like to have a better idea of who we're hiring.
And again, I mean, if you're not sure of something when it's listed on the agenda, you can certainly ask me so that, again, we don't.
At that, you're right, Michael. But at that point, we've already had a recommendation from our supervisor, and I would like to go with the recommendation of our supervisor. But not everybody's being interviewed, and I think that's fair either.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, obviously, we're making managerial decisions. When you get 16 applications, I can tell you, and again, this is why I allow for opportunity to discuss these items, as you said, so they don't occur right here on the floor. But with the 16 individuals that applied, not all 16 are qualified. And in fact, some of the applications that come in simply say, hi, this is my name. I'm looking for work. They don't even submit an application for the position. They don't submit a resume. Some of the resumes simply say, I recently worked here. I'm now looking for other work. So, when we go through these, we're trying to look through, who might be a good fit or, where somebody stands with regard to their application resume. If, we wanted to interview anybody that just kind of throws their name in a hat, then we wouldn't have an application and resume submission process. So, last time we did it, we interviewed 5 individuals.
Michael, what about start putting really good resumes that aren't getting interviewed?
I'm sorry?
Sorry, you're cutting out.
Good resumes and good applications in, but are not being interviewed.
You're saying that did occur, or you're asking what if that occurs?
There are 3. And I've never said anything until now. There are 3 really good applicants from the last 2 times that I've never been called. And I'm not sure why.
Well, I think that's probably something in personnel standpoint we could certainly talk about. And, as you're saying, you've never mentioned it. So there's no way for me or maybe even Jeff to know without having that discussion. So
that happens a lot.
It does happen.
And again, now putting me on the defensive in a public meeting, I'm, because we continue to do this month after month. This has never been said to me. You just said that, so I give, emails and quite a, thorough and lengthy updates. Sometimes I feel like I provide too much information that it's overwhelming. but it's not being mentioned to me. So I can't fix something if I don't know that it's broken.
You're 100% right, Michael, and I'm not coming at you. You do a great job. And I just bring it up now as opposed to privately with you, because I don't want it to appear like I'm asking for anything like as a favor, because it's just people that in the public reached out to me and people that I don't even know, and they sent it to me personally, and I forward this on to our manager, and I think to myself, well, that's a really impressive resume. But I try to let things take its course. Just the past 2 times, they've never even had the opportunity of an interview. So I'm just bringing that up now publicly, because I just wonder why everybody that an impressive resume is not being interviewed.
Well, again,
I never said anything because I always thought that it was left up to the supervisor of the departments.
and there is a lot of truth to that, but I don't want to get into, kind of the personnel and managerial side of it. But there is truth to that.
I wasn't ripping on you, Michael, or blaming you. I thought that it was left up to the department heads.
Yeah, I always trusted Michael and Jeff's recommendations without seeing resumes or applications myself, because they, obviously Jeff knows what he's looking for. He knows what he needs in an employee. So his recommendation is good enough for me. As far as impressive resumes, I mean, I have an impressive resume for healthcare, but not for the water plant. So what kind of resume, is, they're saying they're not getting called, and their resumes maybe are great, but are they for that line of work?
And again, I don't want to pile on, but I think it's, again, worth mentioning because obviously public meeting, this is visible to the public. We did indicate 3 individuals were planned to be interviewed. As I said, 2 of those individuals who did an interview with us, both took positions within water treatment, circles. And the one we did interview, again, that individual, like I said, well qualified, previously worked in the borough in the water treatment plant. So I don't want to get too far down the path of personnel items and revealing information. But so the 3 individuals that were considered for the position to be interviewed all had water treatment or sewage treatment backgrounds. And so again, that's not to discount the other possible very quality applicants, but so sometimes the manager may be looking for a specific thing. So I think, at least on my end, maybe for everybody, we leave it at that.
You're right. I'm so sorry if I feel like I'm coming at you. I trust your judgment. I trust the supervisor's judgment, but as a person elected by the people, when I have people search their resume, they're not called for interviews, I just feel obligated to speak on their behalf. And I'm trying to come across as distrust for Jeff. You guys both do a good job. I'm just advocating for public.
All right, I think we are ready to move on to the AVN COG, Ms. Fox.
I don't have much for AVN COG. We did have a Zoom meeting. Then the only thing I really have is that was said at our meeting that if we have any emergency water sewer projects, to let Tom know that I guess there's some money out there for that, Michael.
Okay.
And all the talk with the CDBG money, with the COVID CDGB money funding that's supposed to be coming to the county's way, I guess, with emergency money, I guess it's all going toward things like they were thinking of buying a hospital or a housing unit to make not a hospital, I correct myself. They were thinking of buying housing to house like healthcare workers and things like that during the COVID outbreak. So that money that everybody thinks is going to be so helpful and useful may not be so helpful and useful. So that's all I have under COG. Thank you.
Thanks, Carrie. Ms. Homa, the comp plan.
I have no report. We haven't had a meeting since February. No updates.
All right. Mr. Blythe, finance and administration.
Nothing to report, just the links are online for the budget.
All right. And all those report, everything that you have is posted online anyways. Correct?
Correct.
Excellent. Carrie, right back to you, Parks Rec Library. I know we talked a bit before about Parks and Rec, but what else do you have for us?
Yeah, I won't go on anymore about the concerts. Just stay tuned for that. The Recreation Board also planted flowers at the Tarentum Borough sign down in West Trentham and planted flowers at the Park Gazebo today. We also had a meeting with Costello's about our magazine, so it is underway for our second edition. And we're hoping to have a second edition released by the end of July. And that is all I have today. Thank you.
Excellent. Mr. Snyder, special events tourism.
No report at this time, but I'm going to be sending an email to our committee members to try to get a meeting up here pretty soon.
Excellent. Ms. Joseph Oski, redevelopment, revitalization.
I wish. There's nothing going on right now.
And back to back, property health zoning.
Nothing at this time.
And finally, public safety, Mr. Blythe, I see you, the Eureka report is online. Anything else?
Just reports online.
Excellent, thank you. This brings us to the second opportunity for citizens comment to make any comments about anything that was not on the agenda.
Scott, can I say one thing?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I wanted to make mention that I attended the Highlands Partnership membership meeting, and there's always a lot of good things that are mentioned at that meeting. But I just wanted to thank the Highlands School District lunch ladies and Misty Chabrinsky, Citizen Hose, Salvation Army, Trisha, Autumn, Ronix Busing, and I hope I didn't forget anybody, for coming out during this COVID-19 crisis and feeding our students lunches. They went to several different areas of our community and fed our students lunches during all this, just to help feed our kids that were in need. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them. They gave $15,000 worth of food away. So I thought that was an incredible thing. So I just wanted to give a shout out to them and thank them for that.
There's a family with 2 kids in the district that took advantage of that. I echo your thoughts, as I'm sure most of us do as well. That was extremely helpful. Back to the citizens comment piece. I'm not sure if we have any citizens currently online. It does not look like what I'm looking at.
I'm sorry to be annoying. I'm going to break in again because I've had 3 citizens all randomly get a hold of me about the same issue. 2 of them were veterans. One of them sent me pictures. We have a lot of tattered flags in town, and the 3 people that have all separately, and I honestly believe that they don't know each other, have all reached out to me about this issue. I don't think they even know each other. They're just bothered by the fact that our flags are pretty torn up. And like I said, the one sent me pictures. I forwarded them to you, Michael. And I had to agree, and I feel bad. I didn't notice, honestly. And I guess maybe because I'm not looking for it. But the one in particular, every one of the stripes is in a separate ribbon. They're really, really bad.
Are these borough flags?
Borough flags. So if we could maybe start having those replaced the ones that are in bad shape. Let me see if I can pull these.
You know, there's one on Corbett Street.
Really bad. And then our big one by Hebe, I think we just replaced that one last year. That one's already in pretty rough shape also. So if we could price those, or next time we buy them, especially the big one, since we just replaced that, if we could get one that's, I don't know, reinforced or something. And I've never bought a flag other than at Lowe's, honestly, for myself, one that is going to last longer.
Erica, that one at the Bridge Triangle, we used to replace that every spring
Yeah.
because it's up all and it just gets beat up. So
Yeah, I know. What are we going to do about it other than just replace it all the time?
yeah.
Michael, if you'd like, I could reach out to State Rep Dermody's office and ask him if he has any flags, because I know he used to donate flags to us for our borough.
Yeah, that would be great. I know that a lot of the reps and senators do that. We can certainly find out. My only thought is if they're not kind of made for outdoors, that could continue the issues.
Well, I know a lot of the flags
let's-
we had were from Dermody's office.
Yeah, we'll look at it. Honestly, if they have them and they're good for hanging out, we can certainly do that. And it's not a large expenditure to replace them with, outdoor flags that have the right type of material to withstand a little bit of the weather. So either way, that would be a great thing to try to get them from one of the representatives, from Representative Dermody. And then if that doesn't work, we'll get them replaced. That's not an issue.
I know he never has one big enough for our Blythe Bridge.
That's right. Yeah, we ordered that one last year. We can do the same this year. It is up high. It takes a beating. It's out in the element. So that's not a problem, though. It's a very visible flag and can be easily replaced.
All right. We'll try the citizens comment piece one more time, even though it doesn't look like there's any citizens on here. Going once, going twice, just so we are official that the citizens comment section is closed. Michael, do you have any, or I'm sorry, not Michael. Does anybody else have any other additional council feedback before we make a motion to adjourn?
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I move to adjourn.
We have a motion for an adjournment? I believe I heard Jim.
Second.
Motion is adjourned at 7:41.
Take care, everyone. Stay safe.
Take care.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. See you next month.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully in person.
See you,
Yeah,
everyone.
right.
Get to the leave button.